Hi, my kindergarten friends. It's Mrs. Gorski. And today what we're going to do, we're going to talk about different ways to count. So the first thing that we're going to do, I'm just going to show you the materials that I have. I have a couple containers of items that we're going to be counting. And I have my mat that I'm going to be counting on. Now, let's also remember that we also have another very important tool called the 10 frame. And we've been using 10 frames quite a bit depending on lives or in videos that I'm using. But today, we're going to pretend that we might not have a 10 frame handy. And we're going to have to use something that we have at home, whether it just be our kitchen table, whether maybe you might just have a mat similar to mine, that you need to count items. So let's go ahead and let's get started. I'm going to start with my first container. And as you can see, I have some counting bears. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take them and I'm going to pour them out right onto my mat. And when I look at these bears, I don't think how I have them laid out is the best way to count them, because sometimes I could kind of get confused and recount bears that I've already counted. So the first thing I like to do is get them set up. I like to put them in a nice line, just like that. So it makes my life a little bit easier when I want to count, because I could point and I could touch each bear. So what do I want to do? How do I want to count? Well, I'm going to go slowly and count each bear one by one. So watch what I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. See how easy that was? Because sometimes in all the years that I've been teaching math, sometimes my kindergarten friends will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they're counting much faster than they're touching the bears. So every time you touch a bear, that's another number to count. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 bears. Now, what happens, another strategy that maybe you can use, if you have something like this, you can, what I say is count and move. So we could do it just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm actually taking the bears and physically moving them to another part of my mat. So I took them from here to here, and I counted each time. So notice I counted 4 every time that I did that counting strategy, whether I'm counting one by one and touching, or I'm actually physically moving each bear. So there were 4 bears. So let's go ahead and do a different one. Now I have some sea creatures here. So when I see them in a pile on my mat, that's definitely not a good way to start my counting. So what I want to do, remember, we're going to arrange them and we're going to put them in a nice line. They don't have to be in any kind of a pattern form, but you should be putting them in a spot where they could be easily counted. So now I have them in a nice line. So let's do our first strategy, which we are going to touch each sea creature and count them one by one slowly. So here I go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's our first strategy. Notice I touched each one, and every time I touch a different sea creature, it changed my number. So let's go ahead and do our count and move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I moved each sea creature and I got 7 again. So both of my strategies seem to be working for me, and they could work for you too. Let's do another one. And I hope you'll be counting with me. Now I have some ladybugs. Here we go. I'm going to arrange them And now I'm going to count them one by one with my finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Counted nice and slow, touched each ladybug, changed my number every time I touched the ladybug. Let's do our count and move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So both strategies still worked for me. I had 9 bugs when I did the touch. I had 9 bugs when I did the count and move. 9 ladybugs. Let's do one more. I have quiet tiles. Can't hear them. Let me put my tiles in a nice straight line, as straight as I can, nice and organized. Ready? Let's do our count and touch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 this time. Let's do our count and move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So notice I got it 2 ways again, with my count and touch and with my count and move. 10 quiet tiles. So one more thing I want to show you, which I think is very important. I'm going to use this as a whiteboard now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make some circles on my whiteboard. And if you are recording or writing things down, you're not going to have the opportunity to move here, because you can't move something that you just drew on a paper unless you erase it and write it in a different spot. You can count and touch, but I'm going to show you what you can do with a marker or a pencil, or maybe a crayon too. So I'm going to count these circles slowly with my count and touch first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, maybe if you want to use what you're recording with, and here I'm using a marker, I'm going to count, but I'm going to mark it off as I count. So watch what I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's very similar to a count and touch, but I'm crossing them off as I'm counting them. So let's try another one. Okay. Now here I go. I'm going to do my count and touch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me use my marker to also do the cross off here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So boys and girls, there's a lot of strategies that you can use for counting, but the best ways is to count slowly, take your time, put your things in a nice row. Now, this would also be a really great strategy if you have something like this. I just thought of it. If something is drawn all over your paper, so it's not in a nice row. This is also a great strategy that you could do the cross off for, so you could keep track of what you're doing. So I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's a lot of strategies, as I said, to do counting, but the best way is to take your time and try and be organized. So boys and girls, I encourage you to try some of these techniques at home with some things that you could be counting at home. It could be coins, it could be blocks, it could be maybe some of your favorite toys. So I will be talking to you soon, and have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.